Greetings and welcome to Village Connector TV. My name is Glenn Garnes and I'm your host, and I want to thank you for joining us today in the studio. Today I've got a very good friend of mine, Quintus McDonald, former Penn State football star, former Indianapolis Colts football player. I got called out once for saying the Baltimore Colts. That was a little before his time, but not so much before mine. But I'm really pleased to have you joining us on the show today because we're going to be talking about Penn State football and about the Nittany Sport Huddle, which is Quintus's program, his own TV show, where he covers Penn State sports along with his very dear friend Blair Thomas, who I'm disappointed wasn't going to be able to join us today.
Well, no, Blair had some things he needed to take care of back at home, west of Philly. So we'll get him back down here at some point throughout the season. We have to do this more than once a year.
Yeah, well, you know, the door's always open. You guys are always welcome. Excellent. And considering that you're a Penn State Nittany Lion and I am a Pitt Panther, it's kind of extraordinary that we're even on the same set together.
That?
Isn't that incredible?
It is incredible, and we're not throwing stuff at each other and screaming and yelling. How about that?
We got that all that done off air, but
yeah,
exactly,
absolutely.
So this is your second season.
Third, actually.
Is this your third season?
This is our third season.
Did it go that fast?
It's gone that fast.
You
absolutely.
all have not been in the studio for like almost a full year now then.
It has been. It has been a year since we've been in. We were here last spring, the spring of 2015. So a year has come and gone, but we're in the studio now because where Blair is, there I am also. And where I'm at, representing B&Q Consulting, our DBA is Nittany Sport Huddle. So we're doing business as Nittany Sport Huddle. Where he's at, he'll be actually, he has a meeting. He sits on the board of directors for the Pennsylvania State Hall of Fame.
Got it.
And they've got a local, some local guys being inducted coming up here at the end of the month. So they're wrapping things up and kind of shoring things up for that event to take place. So he couldn't be here today. Wow,
3 years. The reason I said that was because I remember when you got started with this program. And we basically sat down and brainstormed it here.
Indeed.
I can't believe that was 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing. Because what happened was, if you recall, 4 years ago, we had a radio show.
I remember
and that show needed to be ended. And because that show ended, it wasn't necessary to stop what we thought was a good thing, to be able to give back to the university, which enabled us to do so much with our lives. So that brainstorming session, along with dear friend Ms. Carol Reese-Hardbarger, on the telephone, we all got together and came up with the concept of Nittany Sport Huddle.
And you're doing some great stuff with it. I really have to applaud you for what you're putting together. I've been watching, the broadcasts and everything, and you're all over the place. I mean, the technology, here's the other thing. The technology has evolved dramatically since you got started 3 years ago. You now have Periscope and Facebook Live. You're taking real good advantage of Facebook Live. Yeah. But the point is, it opens up all kinds of opportunities for you to share the message of what's going on in Penn State sports.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to get you back in the studio to find out what you're doing this year with the program. And I mean, I saw you at the University of Pittsburgh. Did you go to Temple? You were at Temple as well.
Well, we played Temple at home.
That's right.
So yes, I was certainly on the sideline there. You speaking about technology, I had an opportunity at halftime of the Pitt game. People were texting me, and the high school coach was calling me, and all of this stuff was going on. And I said, okay, Facebook Live. Yeah. So I actually did a Facebook Live right there in Heinz Stadium, which was pretty cool to do. But back to what we're doing, how Nittany Sport Huddle, if you will, has been evolving. What Blair and I wanted to do was, in giving back to the university, was to give students an opportunity to display their talents and put it on a platform, which is Nittany Sport Huddle. So 2 years ago, last year, we started bringing in interns. We did an interviewing process for an IST major. We did the interviewing process for a telecommunications major. The IST person takes care of all of the web stuff, the web development. And that's something that they have their name on, that they produce themselves. It's a part of their resume for a full semester. the telecom person, is now producing shows for us, producing vignettes, producing commercials, all of the cuts, everything that's necessary that's going on here in the studio that happens out in the field to all the way to the production, the completed piece that you see on NittanySportsHuddle.com. These students are having that opportunity to display their talents and skills.
that truly is the ultimate way to give back to the university, because not only are you covering and highlighting and spotlighting Nittany sports, but you're giving students who are currently in attendance there the opportunity to be part of the history of making that happen.
Absolutely.
And they need that as part of their curriculum. And it's not just lab. This is live, real stuff.
That's
You're
right.
actually taking this to the public. This isn't just something they created in the classroom to get credit for a class. This is the real deal.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, we did a piece, when we talk about Penn State and community, and that's what that really is. We're here in the Village Connector community, where the community collaborations and how the community piece works. You know, I've heard it said many times that the highest form of flattery is what?
Imitation.
Imitation. So now, you know, the NCAA has these little vignettes with all the colleges. When the college is playing on Saturday, you'll hear the "We Are" whatever that school is.
Yeah.
We are whatever that school is. It's all over the place. The NCAA is taking that. Well, folks don't really understand the genesis of We Are, and that comes from Penn State. It comes from the community of Penn State, where in 1946, there were 2 black players on the Penn State football roster, and they had Southern teams, the University of Miami to be exact, on their schedule. And the University of Miami said, hey, we'll let you come here and play, but you've got to leave those 2 black players at home, Wally Triplett and Mr. Denny Hoggart. And the team itself, the captains of the team voted to not go and play in that game. That's community.
Wow.
That's coming around your players and saying, you know what, these are our brothers. We're going to love them. Doesn't matter if it's 1946 and they're black. They're our brothers. We're not going down there to play. And then followed up 2 years later with Penn State winning a trip to the Cotton Bowl in 1948. The same thing. SMU is saying, hey, you guys need to take a vote on whether or not you're going to leave the black players at home and come down here to the Cotton Bowl. And it was stated that the captain of the team then, again, Steve Suey, everybody knows the name Suey.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of synonymous with Penn State.
Exactly.
But Matt's father, Steve, said, we're not going to vote. We are Penn State. There will be no vote. And that's where we are. That's the genesis of the We Are. We are Penn State. There'll be no vote. We come as a team, we come as a community, or we don't come at all. That gets me kind of fired up.
That's quite a statement, especially during that time frame, because it would have been easy for a school to justify doing things a little bit differently than they chose to.
Absolutely.
But there's always something good coming out of the history that we have all been through over the years, if we find the good in it. And I'm sure that Penn State was a big part of helping to put the racial issues in sports behind us.
Absolutely.
And of course, you played obviously many years later than that. I mean, you're a puppy compared to some of these people that were there at that time.
Absolutely, without a doubt. But you make a good point. If we find the good in it, sometimes we have to look for the good. But that's what community ambassadors are for. We're the ones who are out there looking for the good and then bringing that to the forefront and introducing it to the rest of the people who may not have the time or even the interest to find the good. Because it's so easy to jump on the negative bandwagon, but we find the good.
That's right. That's right. And there's always good to be found if you're looking for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of my favorite quotes is that you generally find what you look for. What are you looking
what
for
you're
today?
looking for.
Exactly.
Indeed.
So what is your plan? What do you have going on? Anything new with the program? And I know you're in your 3rd year. You're in this rhythm now. People know who you are. When you come out to the games, they're actually looking for where the broadcast is taking place.
That's very true.
What's up next?
What's up next is to broaden our perspective, because Blair and I both played Penn State football and, played on the last national championship team, we leveraged that. There's no doubt about it. We leveraged that to begin. But our focus and our goal is to become a portal where big business who want athletes, college student athletes, student first and athletes, because of their determination and drive and the fact that you can multitask. If you're a student athlete in college, whomever is getting that person in the seat to interview them, they know many things about that individual already. So big business is looking for student athletes to bring into their corporations. So our goal is to be that portal where the student athlete can go and find big businesses and tap into their infrastructure, if you will, and take a look around without actually having to be a career day. We want to be the portal where businesses can come in and have their banner on our page and click on that banner, and it hyperlinks directly to that corporation's website. So they can actually focus and streamline whatever it is they want to present to our students. So building out that portal is really what's next. To build that portal, make that portal very, very strong, and then we'll leverage the other sports. We kind of tried to go with the other sports first, and people were like, well, you play football. You play football.
Yes, that's the problem, is they associate you with football where, you, and knowing you the way I know you, you don't, you're a football player, but you also take a great deal of pride in your fellow athletes, other people,
Absolutely.
other teams,
Absolutely.
Women's sports, men's sports, doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's all Penn State sports, like we are Penn State.
Exactly.
And, I will hasten to add that that's not the only campus that has that level of pride in their sports teams, but today's about this is Penn State's day.
But you know what though, Glenn, you make a good point, because one of the things Blair and I are working with a coach currently. I don't believe in happenstance, but she got on the train at my stop. Well, it wasn't my stop. I got off the train to stretch my legs in D.C. last 2 weeks ago. And the young lady that was sitting next to me had left, so I had an empty seat next to me. And I came back on the train, and this lady was getting her stuff together. So I helped her put her things away, and she ended up sitting next to me. And I struck up a conversation. And she happens to be a student at American University, and she's studying job development. Well, not job development. She's studying how to develop businesses, business development. So she's, we had a 3-hour conversation about what I'm doing, about what she's doing. And she has said, look, I'd love to help you all because it's going to give me practical application of what I'm learning, and it's going to help you guys. We don't have the funds to pay for that. Only God. When you look for the positive things happen.
So what you need to know is that coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous.
How about that? Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. I've never heard that
And
before.
you can use that one.
Can I use it? I'm going to jot that down. I'll probably be calling you to say, hey, what was that?
What was that
coincidence
again? Exactly. I'll remember it. That was actually shared with me by a very dear friend who passed away several years ago. He was out of Jenkintown, Pennsylvania, marketing guru. And he used to bring people in from all over the world to share their products and services, and he used to help them to take them to market from a marketing perspective. Mm-hmm. And I used to love to hear him say that, because coincidence was taking place every day in his office.
Absolutely.
He was making connections for people. He was helping them to see opportunities that they didn't see for themselves. And he truly was the kind of person that was put here to serve others. And
Awesome.
He did a great job of that. And I learned a lot from him. A lot of what we do here at Village Connector is based in part on the lessons I learned from him. So
it's amazing. So his fruit, he's still bearing fruit.
That's right.
Even though his physical man is dead and gone, but he's bearing fruit through you.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely
That's why
awesome.
legacy is so important.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. And that's where we're headed with Nittany Sports Huddle. I talk to people, you ask what's up next. Well, there's some things that have to take place in order for me to be able to hire, for us, Blair and I, to be able to hire on-air personalities, to have the funding where we can send them on our road show, our annual road show, which took place at Heinz Field, where we'll be able to do all of those things, and I don't have to be there.
Were you working out of the RV at Heinz?
Absolutely.
Because I remember seeing some shots, and I didn't see you actually physically in there, but
Oh,
I noticed
yeah.
that
there.
the picture. No, I saw the picture,
Right.
but not the videos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there is a video. There is a video. In fact, that still shot that you have, that's from the video.
Oh, that's right. Now that I
So
think about it, all right, I take
Yeah.
that back. I did see the video. I didn't realize that it was at Heinz Field that you were doing the video.
Right. Well,
But
yeah.
let me ask you a question. You mentioned earlier that some of the folks that you know, when they saw you reaching out to other sports within the Penn State school system, that they were like, well, wait a minute, you all are football players. Why are you covering that? Have you thought about possibly having people from those sports be the talent on the show that covers that season or that,
Oh, absolutely. That was our goal. We had talent set up. Brian Allen, who played basketball at Penn State while we were there, had agreed to be the basketball talent. We have a wrestler who wrestled at Penn State, still holds a wrestling camp near, was going to do the wrestling for us. But the people that we go to talk to for funding only see us as football players.
Right.
So this is where the business piece comes in, because as well as the next part, we get to actually create a business plan on paper, physical business plan that we can hand to prospective funders and say, look, this is where we're going. This isn't, if you and I sit down, because you know me, you know that I'm dedicated, I mean what I say, and we can have a conversation, and you can just sit back and keep in touch with me as it happens, because you know it's going to happen. Well, people who are writing checks for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 may not feel that very same way about Quintus and Blair,
Right.
and which is understandable. So we're getting some things in order, and then the next phase, once we have the portal set up and business sees what we have to offer and sees how viable it is, then it's duplicatable.
Yes.
Then we go to
So you're working right now on getting the model proven, and then
Yes.
you can scale up to other subject matter, meaning other sports, and getting other people to be hosts of the show for those sports.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking to myself, there was another Montclair High School grad that played basketball. Was it Wally Choice?
That went to Penn State?
Yeah, went to Penn State.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know where he is now, but he would be a good candidate to talk to about possibly covering the basketball season. I don't know if he has the same connection to the university that you do, where you go back and forth between North Carolina and Penn State like you were going to the next town over in Durham.
It's only for a season. It's only for a season.
You do this all year long, man. What are you talking about? You're running up and down 95 to our hometown, teaching sports camps, and we're going to be talking with you about that in another segment.
Absolutely.
But you're up here as much as you're in North Carolina.
Well, God has blessed me, man. He's blessed me with the opportunity to be in multiple places. He's given me a wife that understood whenever I told her who I am and what I've been given to do. She understood that and accepted it. And then, I'm headed home tomorrow. Tuesday, my wife's office is in Manhattan.
That's right, in New York.
So Tuesday afternoon, she flies out. So Tuesday morning, I'm driving back to Montclair. I leave my car at Mike Caesar's house, another Montclarian, leave my car at his house and get on the train. Boom, I'm right in Manhattan.
I hope these Montclarians are going to be watching this segment, because
That's
we're
right.
talking more about them than we are about Penn State sports.
How about that? How about that? But it's all, without that family, because it's really back to community. Without the family connection in the community, I couldn't do the things that I do at Penn State. To be able to just drive 4 hours versus driving the 9 that it would be from North Carolina.
Yeah.
We talk about the next segment. There's so much more, and it's all about community. When I go to Penn State, I don't have to stay in a hotel, which the hotel costs are outrageous, because there's a friend of mine, a guy who actually was from Raleigh, who worked at Corning, which is right down the street from Penn State's campus years ago when I was in school. We became friends. We played basketball and stuff together. Lifelong friends. I stay in his townhome when I go to Penn. When I go to State College. Community.
That's right.
Community. Building relationships that last. Building relationships that are strong. That mean something.
Now, when I invited you in here, and this is, as you know, unscripted.
Right.
I didn't know what you wanted to talk about. You just said, "Hey, look, I'm going to come through. Can we, fire up the camera and get a show together?" Mm-hmm. I still don't know where this is going finally, but here's the point. I had no idea it was going to have a connection back to what is, my passion, which is community, Village Connector community.
How about that?
And, like I said, you came up in Montclair. You were coming into high school when I was graduating and leaving for Pitt. Mm-hmm. And you were very good friends with a lot of the younger students that I knew and grew up with, but we were not in high school at the same time. And it wasn't until many, many years later that we reconnected.
Right.
And that was mostly because of what I was doing with community and where your heart is, that you took an interest in what I was doing.
Yeah, when I saw that village, just anybody that's willing to put that word out there into social media, you have to stand behind that. And it required that I reach out to you, and then in conversation, here we are.
Exactly.
This is like,
and that was 2011.
2011.
Here we are, 2016, still growing, going strong and growing strong.
Absolutely.
Because the things that you have done, your sports camps, Nittany Sports Huddle, a lot of the community service things that you're doing, they just continue and expand and grow. And we're doing the same thing with Village Connector. I mean, we've evolved, as you know, pretty dramatically from an online newspaper, to 2 TV studios, a radio studio, and all kinds of content helping people invest in themselves through personal development. I know that that's another
outstanding,
another segment, another day.
Well, is it really? Because it's community.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You're helping to grow the community, man. So I don't know. I mean, it's all interrelated.
Well, it is interrelated, and we are going to cover a lot of this on another segment. So why don't we do this? Why don't we end by finding out what you need the community to do right now to help you to continue to evolve Nittany Sports Huddle. And let's see if we could also bring up the URL for the website. It's nittanysportshuddle.com.
That's correct.
I think we had that. I think we provided the program director with that. We'll give him a minute or two to see if he can bring that up on the screen in the lower third. But nittanysportshuddle.com is where people go to get plugged into the get on your mailing list, to see what's going on, recent blog articles, news about Penn State sports, especially football, and then of course to see the most recent edition and actually the archived editions of the TV show as well.
Absolutely, right? Archived editions are there, and I skipped over what's up when I go back next week. Next week when I go back, I'm actually going to stay the following week. And we're going to hire a marketing person. We're going to bring in another student. All of our hires will continue to be Penn State's current students, not graduates, but people who are current students. And we pay them a decent amount of money. So if there's anyone listening now, when you ask what we need, if there's anyone listening now who is a Penn State student, and you can be at one of our branch campuses even, we are looking for a social media marketing guru. And I know they're all like 16, 17, 18 years old.
Well, you'd be surprised. There's now, I mean, most colleges of any level of sophistication have fully developed social media marketing curriculum.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure Penn State is no exception to that.
Yeah.
So you should have a hotbed of talent out there that can help you to get your message out, and there's plenty of ways to do that through social media.
Absolutely.
You're already taking advantage of some of that through Facebook Live, and I think you did a little bit on Periscope. Did you?
I did do a very small amount on Periscope. That for me was very kind of time consuming for some reason. I don't know. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. And why. There was a function that when you were on Periscope, if you were a Periscope person, that whomever you were connected with, every time they Periscope, my phone would just start going off.
Right. You get a notification that someone that you are friends with, that you're following, is broadcasting.
Right. And it was like everybody was broadcasting all the time.
All right, so I will have to school you on that because you can turn those off.
You can turn
too.
off the notifications.
Yeah.
See?
Well, it's a newer technology. I mean, Periscope's only really going into its third year now. I mean, I remember back when it first got started. I went up to New York for the Periscope Summit. Spent 4 days meeting all the big name players in the Periscope community. That's another community, and frankly, Periscope got a jump start on YouTube Live and Facebook Live, but they have really kind of lost their edge. Facebook Live is becoming the place to be now, but Periscope's making a comeback. It's like Coke and Pepsi. They're always, competing with each other to be number one. Yeah, exactly. And it is a good thing because it gives the consumer, the viewers and the users of the service, a better value to know that someone's always looking to innovate and make it more powerful. Exactly. One of the things that you and Blair should look into, if you maybe get this sponsored, you might want to consider finding a way to get yourself set up with a Nittany Sports Huddle drone. A drone is
just fly around
and the at the tailgate party. You could probably get it to go high enough to see into the stadium too. I don't know if that violates any rules with NCAA. They got a rule for everything.
Yeah, but they'll make one up for that.
But at least the tailgate part. But here's why I was mentioning that, because there's a particular drone that is paired with Periscope where you're literally seeing what's on the drone camera on the Periscope broadcast, but you're hearing the audio from you. You're sitting here with your phone, and the view that the Periscope viewers are seeing is whatever the drone camera is, but they're hearing you speak and narrate it.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful way for you to add some value, even if you did it for like B-roll meaning pre-recorded, to share, as part of the broadcast and post-editing production or something like that. But this is a perfect example of how the tech that didn't exist 3 years ago when you first got started. We couldn't even have that kind of a conversation. But today, the technologies to do that, I mean, you can get a drone that will do what I just described for less than $500 or $600 today. The one that I really have my eye on is $1,500. But you can get a drone for less than $500 or $600 that connects with Periscope and would give you great quality video.
Very
Norman Deshawn?
Yes.
He has a drone. He's a professional photographer. He's very talented. He's probably an award-winning guy, another Montclair guy.
Yeah,
he's creating and capturing some incredible drone footage. You might want to reach out to him. Also, Jared
that's what Jared is using.
That's exactly right. Both of them, they're both photographers, very talented.
Indeed.
A lot of talent coming out of Montclair.
Montclair is jam-packed with talent.
Yes, indeed.
And it's still coming.
That's right. But check with either of them, because I know that they would have the ability to kind of school you. I have some expertise with it, but I don't actually have a physical drone yet. I've researched it.
Okay.
We don't have an immediate need for one, but I know that Jarrett and Norman are doing very well with it. I see their stuff on Facebook all the time.
Very interesting.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so listen, we got to wrap this up because you and I could be here for 3 or 4 more days, and you don't have 3 or 4 days. So
no, I don't.
Neither do I for that matter.
Yeah.
So where would you like to leave the message for people who you'd like to inspire to become part of the Nittany Sports Huddle audience, become part of the huddle, so to speak?
Right, absolutely. Go to www.nittanysportshuddle.com, and when you click on to that URL, the initial page will come, and then there'll be an opportunity for you to join the huddle. Please join the huddle. Join the huddle. That's going to help us create the following and grow our mailing list. And when the marketer comes on board, then we'll start with prizes, and we'll start doing some things and giving out some pretty amazing things. We're partnered with a group called the Huddlecast. The Huddle Network.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's our podcast partners. They're the Huddlecast. So they've got some pretty nice things going on. We're into our 2nd season with them. It's their 3rd season. We're going to work some things out and really begin to collaborate on a greater level, on a deeper level. We've got the Huddlecast page now, the Penn State Huddle. So you can find us. You can find Nittany Sports Huddle in many, many places.
And let me say that everything starts, when it comes to community, everything starts with getting connected. So going to nittanysportshuddle.com and getting on the mailing list allows you to be in communication with Quintus and Blair and any new developments, because there's always something new going on. You guys are rocking it. Any new developments, you'll be immediately aware of that because they'll have the ability to communicate with you. You won't have to wait and hear it through the grapevine. You'll be notified firsthand. So I encourage you, if you are a Nittany Sports, if you're a Nittany Sports fan, a Penn State fan, I just got a friend connection from a friend of mine who went to Penn State, went to law school with me.
Okay.
We had become disconnected because she got off Facebook for a little while, but apparently she set up her profile, and I was one of the first people she reconnected with. I was really kind of happy about that. The point I'm trying to make is it's all about community. And when you join the mailing list at Nittany Sports Huddle, you're joining a community. You're not just getting on a mailing list. So stay connected. You have the ability to be in contact with two of Penn State's biggest stars in football, and their passion for the sport and for the school is undeniable.
That's right.
So you couldn't be in better company with Quintus McDonald and Blair Thomas being your shepherds through Penn State sports. So.
Indeed.
All right, well, listen, man, I want to thank you for coming in and sharing with us today. You know, every time you're running up and down 95, you got a home here, so just be sure you stop in and say hello.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and we look forward to doing more of this.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Right. For the rest of you, I don't know why you're still sitting here. You need to be over at nittanysportshuddle.com, where you can get on the mailing list and find out what's going on, the latest in Penn State sports. On behalf of Quintus McDonald and Blair Thomas, my name is Glenn Garnes. I want to thank you for joining us on Village Connector TV.